Hey, this is Jonesy from Jonester TV coming at you with a review for Luke Cage Season 1. So I'm going to be reviewing Netflix and Amazon shows in bulk because they're released in bulk, so that's the best way to review them, or at least that's what I've come to the conclusion for. Um, but this show was great. It was fantastic. It had its own tone, its own mood, and all the actors and actresses were on point for the most part. There were a few that were not. So let's talk about the standout performances of the season. Well, Mike Coulter, of course, is Luke Cage. He played the character to a T perfectly. I believe his portrayal was great. I think Marshala Ali playing Stokes, he did a great job too. And I think that one of the most crazy performances that I enjoyed the most was only in a few episodes, and it's Frankie Fanson. He played Pop, and Pop was a character you instantly loved, you instantly connected with, and he sort of made you feel at home. And it was really weird because, I mean, as much as I love Daredevil and Jessica Jones, I never felt that way with any of their characters. Of course, I did like Diamondback, and that's the thing. That's a point of contention. A lot of people don't like Diamondback as a villain, but I think that he was a great villain. And of course, Larry Harvey played him perfectly, I think, and his whole revenge arc, I think, is interesting. And the guy who played Lonnie, I didn't like him. Darius Caleb, I don't think he did a good portrayal. He's one of the one exceptions. Misty Knight, she's basically the cop that's working with Luke Cage. She is a great character. She's well developed, and all her emotions seem real. And of course, Theo Rosie Shades Alvarez, the sunglasses, basically the guy with sunglasses, the one of the people working for Diamondback. He is a great character, and I mean, you just love to hate the guy. Honestly, I think he's one of the best characters in the show. But surprisingly, one of my favorite characters is Detective Scarf, and he's basically this corrupt detective who turns around at the end, sort of. And the thing is, you actually feel for him, and it's weird because usually with villains, even with like Wilson Fisk, as well rounded as he was, I never felt like that what he was doing may be just, may not be. And yes, his motivations were clear why he was doing it, of course, because of his childhood. But I mean, he was just so well rounded as a character, Detective Scarf. And I was actually sad that he died, but at the same time, I was angry that he didn't die earlier. But I mean, he just did it. It was a fantastic performance. But Stokes, Cornell Cottonmouth Stokes, he's a great character as well, and he sort of gets that backstory like Wilson Fisk did, and it's really good. And I'm trying not to give away too many spoilers, but I did enjoy the action. The show is more scrappy than Jessica Jones and Daredevil because it was Luke Cage, of course, is Power Man. He has fistfights. The flashbacks were great. They were relevant. It reminded me of a show in the genre, similar genre of superhero shows, Arrow. The first two seasons did a great job with flashbacks and establishing Oliver as a character and why he's motivated to do stuff. Well, that sort of played into Luke Cage. We saw his background at Seagate Prison, and that really factored into everything. And it's really entertaining seeing how he got from, a guy who was wrongly convicted to a sort of a superhuman. And Claire was the best utilized I've seen in any Marvel show as well. She's the nurse from originally was from Daredevil, but she had a cameo in Jessica Jones. But she didn't feel shoehorned in Luke Cage. She felt natural. She felt like a natural member of the cast, and they used her character perfectly. I think Rosino Dawson's a great actress for one, but I think it was great because they wrapped her into the story in a way that made her vital. It wasn't like she was just shoehorned in as, oh, she's the nurse who works at the hospital. Of course, Daredevil did a good job with that too, but just in Jessica Jones, I liked it, but at the same time, I was sort of irritated because I was like, well, are you just doing that just so you can have a little crossover and say that you could have a crossover? And another thing too, it sort of gave me a culture shock because I'm a very, very uncultured person when it comes to African American culture and other stuff, and I'll openly admit that. But I feel like Luke Cage actually opened my eyes to some of that, which is surprising. You wouldn't expect that from a superhero show, but it definitely gives you a different perspective. And like I said, Harlem feels real in it. It feels like these villains are real. They could be real, and that's the scary part. A lot of it just tends closer to realism, and it's funny because I'm saying that considering that it's a show about a bulletproof man, but I mean, for some reason, it's just real. It just feels real to me. And Cheo Hodari Coker, he's the guy who made the show. He did extensive research into Harlem and everything involving Harlem before he made the show, and it definitely shows. Like, it feels realistic for a superhero show. The action was great. All the character casts performed well, except I didn't really like Darius Caleb's Lonnie. He's sort of not good at that role. But I mean, most of the actors were phenomenal. The action was great. But the one thing I will say, the one problem with Luke Cage is the story was disjointed. The first half of the season was its own story, and the second half of the season was another story. And actually, the second half of the season, some people don't like it as much, but I found it was way more compelling to dig into Diamondback and his past and his relation to Luke. But the first half of the season was more just about him dealing with Cornell Stokes. And I honestly, for a while, I was like, am I really... There's never a moment in the first part of the season where I was like, oh, I got to keep watching. I didn't get that till the end of the series, so... I think that the problem with Luke Cage is it's really disjointed. Sort of like Daredevil Season 2, if you think about it. A ton of great moments, and it was still great overall, but it seemed like there were different arcs going on that didn't quite coincide with each other at the same time. But all that being said, I really enjoyed Luke Cage, and I really enjoyed watching it. It was fun, entertaining, and I would suggest it to anybody. And so my final score I'd have to give for Luke Cage Season 1 is I'd have to give it a... I would give it an 8.9 out of 10. I wouldn't quite give it a 9, but it wasn't as good as Daredevil Season 1, but I liked it about as much as I liked Jessica Jones Season 1, I will say. But it was an interesting take on Luke Cage, and it was cool to see sort of a black superhero lead that we hadn't seen in a while, and it was really compelling. There's some really great characters, and the person who played Mariah, she killed it. The actress who played her, I don't know her name off the top of my tongue, but again, I'd give it an 8.9 out of 10. It was fantastic. I think if you're into the superhero genre or action genre in general, you should check this out and just watch it. And even if you haven't seen Daredevil or Jessica Jones, you don't have to understand it. So I'd really suggest this for anybody. I'd give it an 8.9, of course. So I hope you've enjoyed this review. I know it's been a little bit more long-winded, but it's a season review. And remember to like and subscribe for more content, and check out my other reviews for superhero TV shows and TV in general, and like and subscribe. This has been Jonesy from Jonesy TV, signing off.